start with Arizona. Last year they went 5-7, 3-6 in conference, which doesn't sound great until you realize that Jed Fish had improved Arizona to the fact where the previous 3 seasons they had 5 wins. 2022 they come in, they shock the world, they win 5 games. Um, they beat a Colorado team that was really bad, granted, but then they beat UCLA late in the season. They win the Wildcat or the Territory Cup. Is that what it's called? Territory Cup against Arizona State. Um, and I'm really, I'm really high on what Arizona can potentially do this year on offense. But we talked about half teams off the top, and Arizona might be one of the biggest half teams in the Pac-12. Their offense is going to be pretty solid, I think. Jaden DeLaura, quarterback, really athletic gunslinger who actually transferred from Washington State. Who, Garrett, I'm being told I accidentally skipped an order. We'll circle back to Wazoo as soon as Arizona's done. Uh, Jacob Cowing, wide receiver who transferred over from UTEP. He had 1,000-yard season last year. They have Tetairoa McMillan, who was a 5-star freshman, decommitted from Oregon, ended up going down to the desert to play for the Wildcats. And then they had nearly 1,200 yards between their running backs as well. The defense was abysmal last year. And this is where, if they're going to reach a bowl game, they have to improve. They gave up 422 yards of offense per game. They gave up 36.5 points per game as well. And in my notes, I wrote, and they still won 5 games. The defense is quite literally a hodgepodge of transfers. They've kind of graduated like all of the returners over the last that were pre-Jed Fish. Either they've graduated them or they've transferred out. And I kind of think it's addition by subtraction in this sense. The passing attack should be the strength. I wrote the defense is really the team's weakness. Like every level of that defense, you lose Bars to USC. I just don't know if there are any real game changers. Justin Flo transfers in from Oregon. He's a linebacker. They've got Jacob Manu, who was the team leader in tackles last year. He's at linebacker. Bill Norton transfers in from Georgia to play along the defensive line. Other than that, though, I can't really tell you what this Arizona defense is going to do, and I think that's going to hold them back in their schedule.
I can tell you what they're going to do. They're going to give up a whole bunch of points because it's just the conference they play in, right? It's the fact that this is an elite scoring conference. They do a really good job at overall, everyone passes the ball well. Overall, everyone is pretty elite on offense. And so, yeah, if you don't have a whole lot on that back end and if you can't do a lot to defend things, you're going to have issues. And looking at the schedule, I think this also kind of bears out. I currently have them at 3-9. It's a little brutal for the Wildcats this year, but I mean, look at their out of conference real quick. Northern Arizona should be a win. Mississippi State should be a loss on the road. You don't just walk into Starkville and win. UTEP, I think, should be a win for Arizona. Stanford, you should probably still win that game, and then it falls off a cliff, and you probably have a long string of losses.
Yeah.
And it's just tough, and a lot of those games on the road. I don't know how much you can really, soothe yourself with your home games when those home games are Utah and Oregon State and some of these teams who I think that we're going to expect to be a lot better. Look, the passing attack is great. I think that at some point it has to come back to the mean. Like you were saying, they've still won 5 games despite the poor defensive numbers. And when you really look at the defensive numbers, I mean, we can pull these up real quick. These defensive numbers are just atrocious. And I think that at some point something has to come back. And I think if you're asking me, is it more likely that the offense pulls them ahead again? Or is it more likely that the defense is going to hold them back again? I think it's more likely the defense holds them back again. When you bring in that many new pieces, no matter who you are, you're going to have issues implementing scheme. You're going to have issues with people trusting each other. It's a lot easier to plug and play on offense than it is on defense because you have to have guys knowing their assignments, knowing what they need to do on, each particular play or each particular, rep. If an offense does this, then what am I doing? What's my job? And if you get one breakdown, that's where the play falls apart, right? And so, if they have those pieces in place, great. Put me in the doubt column. And it's going to be 3-9 for me for Arizona. And again, it's something has to give. If there's going to be that many teams on the top end winning a lot of games, somebody has to be losing all these games. And I think Arizona's in that category of has to lose a lot of these games.
Gracious him. How about